You are listening to the Across the Campus podcast, presented by atbsports.net.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Across the Campus, your Mid-American and Big Ten Conference podcast presented by atbsports.net. I'm your host, Alex the Captain. Joining me as always, my partner in crime, AJ the Guru.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
All right, AJ. Well, after last week, we had a great time. For anybody who hasn't listened, shame on you. Great time with Ricky Stokes.
Yeah, we did.
A lot of really cool information, some great stories. So go back, check out last week's episode. But got to move forward, got to get ready for some conference tournaments. We got about 2 weeks until those kick off.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I know we've talked about it here previously, but March 14th, just less than a month away, we'll be in Cleveland for the MAC Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Excited to make that trip. That tournament's weird, too. It's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, probably because I'm assuming the Cavs probably have a home game Sunday or something along those lines.
That makes sense.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to get there for that. That'll be a lot of fun. Of course, as we mentioned, we spoke to Ricky Stokes last week.
Mm-hmm.
It feels a lot longer, than just last week. Well, it literally was a week ago yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, he mentioned that he was excited to meet us at the tournament, so hopefully we can get in contact with him and go from there and hopefully do some stuff with the MAC. I don't think we've really talked about it too much, but we did mention a couple episodes ago how the women's tournament is here in Fort Wayne, and that I don't think we told the story of how you and I applied for press credentials.
Yes.
So we did that, and about a couple days later, got a notification saying our application was declined. That's fine. Well, Alex looked up the requirements for credentials, and we are nowhere near that. So,
just a few people shy.
just a few people shy. And so we even used my Fort Wayne address. Hopefully that would help, and things of that nature. But that doesn't come down to the tournament. That comes down. Those are NCAA requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I was really impressed that we were talking. I think you and I were texting about it. Because it was right before the Super Bowl, they showed the video of how Tom Brady's jersey was stolen out of the locker room during that Super Bowl game, and it was a media member who got a hold of the jersey, and they tracked him down in Mexico, and he also had Von Miller's helmet and a couple other things.
Yeah.
And I texted you, I go, let's just apply for credentials for the Women's Championship. It can't be that hard. Literally, all I did was Google credentials NCAA tournament, and the first link, it came up with what we needed.
Yeah.
So, but it came up with what city you wanted to go to, and at the same time, the men's tournament's in Indianapolis. But here, just a couple miles from me at the Coliseum, is the women's regional. So we applied. Like I said, a couple days later, we got a nice letter back from the NCAA saying no, and then the requirements. We looked them up and go, okay, I understand that. But nevertheless, we're going to do what we can at the MAC tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see it being a packed house, so we'll be able to move around a little bit and get close to the floor and get cool pictures and get some cool stories. And what's really cool about it is we don't know who's going to be there yet.
Right.
And so we won't know until the night before.
Well, and I think that's honestly the best part of all of this is the fact that we're going into this almost blind. So we're going to have to do our research the night before and just kind of take a look and see what's available. We're going to be doing a special episode for you guys with content from Cleveland for the tournament. So we're really excited for that. And I know that me personally, I haven't been to the MAC championship in several years. Mm-hmm. So that'll be a nice little homecoming for me.
I've never been to the basketball. I've been to the football once before.
Mm-hmm.
Never basketball though. But Cleveland's my city.
Yep.
I unfortunately won't be able to make a full weekend out of it.
Right.
As I've got a trip planned a few weeks later to go to Wrigley Field. So that'll be a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
A good friend of mine from Columbus, it's his birthday, and he's a big baseball fan but never been to Wrigley. And so his girlfriend reached out to me, and I'm not Cleveland or Chicago by any means, but I know Chicago pretty well. I've taken many trips there. We hop on the train and go downtown, been to Wrigleyville, been to Wrigley Field, all that stuff. Well, his birthday's like April 4th, so like the second week of the season. And Chicago's still cold at that time. There's probably still going to be snow and ice.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because with the way the outfield is, right field, the wind blows right from right field right off the lake. And so it's cold. Been there, done that in March. And I'm not Wrigley. No, have I? I've done Chicago in March, but never Wrigley Field.
Okay.
And it's cold.
Yeah, I did Great American last year for opening day, and that was early April, so that was a little bit later.
Opening day is even earlier this year.
Yeah, they moved it up way, 2 weeks earlier, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, I've done opening day in Cleveland a couple years ago against Detroit, and that was beginning of April there, and it was cold.
Yeah, no, it gets real cold.
The sun would come out here and there, but you get behind the shade, and it was rough. It was cold, but hey, there's nothing better than an opening day, in my opinion.
Oh no, opening day is a holiday itself. It's
absolutely
phenomenal.
If you've never done it, you've got to do it sometime. It was one of my dad's bucket list items to do, and so it was kind of cool because we have family friends who were season ticket holders to the Indians, and I reached out to them because they weren't going to be able to go; they were going to be on vacation. And so I go, hey, hey Roses, can I have your tickets for opening day? They go, absolutely, not a problem. Because Sam's grandfather was the Cleveland Indians team doctor for like 30 years.
Oh, okay.
And so they've had season tickets, the third or fourth row, right behind the Indians dugout. So it was prime seats, and so it was really fun for my dad and my brother to do. I believe that was 2015. I remember correctly. But it was cool because it was against Detroit, and I had to work for those guys the previous season.
Right, so when you were working with the Mud Hens and such.
Exactly. So a few of those guys who were on that opening day roster, I had worked with in Toledo. And so that was kind of fun going down there and talking to them and whatnot. They kind of all looked at me like, what the hell are you doing down here? And I'm in my Indians jersey. And so we all had a good laugh about it. But yeah, opening day, less than 50 days away, less than, I think.
Yeah, so, I think it's like 43 days now.
Something like that, yeah. So spring training games those have to start, next week?
Yeah, I think it starts on Monday. Yeah, and our boys play.
Yeah.
Kicking it off.
Yeah, they share the same facility.
Yep. But Goodyear in...
Yeah, in Goodyear, Arizona, yeah. And so they had to shorten spring training then.
I think they did by like about a week or so.
By a week or so, yeah. So we started off like our first day, Mike Clevenger, to someone his meniscus, so he had to have a scope surgery. So he'll be out a few weeks, but...
Yep.
We're not a baseball podcast. We'll probably get into baseball at some point because that's what we do.
Right.
I'm not sure if we have a baseball podcast on the network. Maybe we can, because obviously summer, there's not a whole lot going on in college. We can kind of transition into some baseball things.
A little bit of other things, yeah, absolutely.
Summer's kind of slow until you get to,
fall
July,
camp
August.
Yeah,
there you go. So.
Ooh, actually, I was just thinking. Speaking of that, I almost wouldn't want to see if we can't get in touch with somebody from Notre Dame because they do their fall camp at Culver.
Yeah, there's that, and I have some resources at Notre Dame as well. Let's see what's going on there. I don't see why not.
Absolutely, yeah, worth a shot, right?
Sure, but I do know one thing though. What is that? See, I friends who do work at the winter school. They are completely blocked off from the players. You know the stories.
Yeah.
You can't get near them. There's a screen in the cafeteria that divides the students from the Notre Dame players. No contact, anything like that. It's wild. The security measures are insane.
And they have to be. It's such a big thing for the school.
But then I think about it too. I'm sure a lot of kids who are at CMA
go to Notre Dame.
Have no idea who Notre Dame is, nor do they care.
Yeah, that's probably true too.
Because a lot of those kids from foreign countries, they don't care who Notre Dame is. They don't care what football is.
Right.
So all they see is some mammoth defensive lineman. They go, I didn't know they made people this big. Well, they do. And Notre Dame also paid for that turf football field. So
yeah.
But let's get into some college football. It's college in general. Actually, basketball's been a while here. We had the Penn State go down to Illinois last night.
That was huge.
63-50 something.
62 to 56.
62-56. Yeah, it was. Again, I think we say just about every week, Big Ten's stupid and it makes no sense. College basketball is stupid and it makes no sense.
I think that just needs to be our catchphrase for like the remainder of the season.
It might as well be. Louisville, they've dropped 2 to unranked opponents here as of late.
We've got, Auburn right now is on upset alert. Number 13 Auburn trailing Georgia 47-42.
Are they?
About 7 minutes left in that game. Maryland, we were talking about Maryland the other day. Maryland is currently sitting at 22-4, 12-3 in the Big Ten, and they're just crushing everybody in the Big Ten right now.
Yeah, they are. Women are too.
Yeah, but they've always been a really good basketball school, and I think you and I talked about this the other day. For everything that they don't do in football, they very much make up for in basketball.
Sure. Yeah, kind of right here yesterday, Wisconsin, they beat Purdue 69-65.
Mm-hmm.
Maryland beat Northwestern 67-60. I can't talk today. 76-67.
Yep.
And as we mentioned, Illinois beat Penn State on last night, or on Tuesday rather, 62-56. We go back to Sunday here real quick. There's a couple good games here actually. Minnesota, Iowa was a really close one there. They came down to the final couple shots.
58-55.
58-55. The Hawkeyes coming out on top. And then Michigan just trounced IU 89-65. I did the IU a couple weeks ago, the Ohio State IU game.
Yeah.
And one thing, too, I kind of noticed what IU's been doing, I don't know if they've done it recently, is they don't have a consistent rotation. They don't have a consistent 7, 8 guys they play. Archie Miller plays all 10 at all times.
Okay.
And so there's no consistency in their lineups. Of course, I didn't know much about IU basketball going into that game, but the gentleman I went with, who I do radio with here in town, he's a big IU fan, and the people sitting next to me are, of course, all IU fans, and I was talking to him about it. Archie Miller doesn't have a consistent 7, 8 guys he plays. He has to play everybody, and nobody can figure that out. And I think that's kind of showing here, especially against Michigan there, because Michigan's not the cream of the crop this year in the Big Ten.
No, goodness no.
They're
in the bottom half. Yeah, they're in the bottom half of the conference.
IU and Michigan are both 16-9 on the year, and both at the bottom of the Big Ten.
But here's what's stupid is Michigan and Ohio State are currently 4.5 games out of first place. A lot can happen. There are 6 games left in Big Ten play, and Michigan has to play Maryland and Ohio State.
Yep.
There's a lot that can happen.
And we go to Iowa on Thursday,
and
then we still have Maryland, and we still have Michigan State, and we still have Illinois, I believe.
Yeah.
So we do not have an easy stretch.
No.
And we're speaking of Michigan right here. They're playing Rutgers right now. It's 45-42.
Yep.
In the second half there. Then at 9 o'clock, IU's going to play Minnesota. As we mentioned here, IU is 16-9 on the year. Minnesota's sitting there at 500-12-12. And Minnesota's favored by 5.5 points.
The home teams have been playing absolutely lights out in the Big Ten this year.
Yeah, they have. Illinois hasn't lost. Or no, is Rutgers hasn't lost a home game?
Maryland hasn't lost a home game, and Rutgers, yeah.
And Rutgers is like 17-0 at home or something
17-0 at home. Maryland's 15-0 at home.
Yeah.
Oh, their away record's not so pretty, but Maryland Maryland has the longest streak in the conference right now with a 9-game win streak. Nebraska and Northwestern tied for a 10-game losing streak.
Yeah. And mentioning Nebraska there tomorrow night, Sparty travels out there to Lincoln. Sparty's sitting there at 17-9. Nebraska's sitting there at 7-18. And then if you go just another state over, Iowa, they host the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes are 17-8. Iowa's 18-8. The Buckeyes do crack the top 25 this week. You're sitting there at 25.
Yeah, I did see that.
Iowa's sitting there at 20. I don't care. You don't want to be a ranked team. You just don't.
Well, no, absolutely not.
But here we're going to go to the top. Top 25 here right now in action right now. Louisville, they're on top of Syracuse pretty handily right now, 69-46 with just about 9 minutes left to go in that ball game.
Yep.
Talking about upset alert here. Butler lost.
Yeah, Butler
lost by 2 to Seton Hall, 74-72. And then we also mentioned Auburn and Georgia here. They're playing right now with about 5 minutes left to go in that ball game. Georgia is up 52-43. Got a couple good games on tonight though. Duke and NC State, and Villanova and DePaul, and then Tulsa at 22 ranked Houston. So Houston's favored by 10.5. Villanova's favored by 4.5. And Duke's only favored by 6.5.
Yeah, there's a lot of tight score lines for teams this year.
I think Vegas is having a hard time this year just because there's no consistency. There's so much parity in college basketball this year that the bookmakers are having a hard time.
Bookmakers are having a hard time, and everybody wants to talk about San Diego State staying undefeated. They had a big win over Boise State the other night. You can't discount. Everybody wants to talk about, they play in a weak conference, they do this, they do that. It doesn't matter. You're still undefeated in college basketball. That doesn't happen.
Absolutely. And speaking of undefeated teams, There's a 26-1 team, Gonzaga. They play tomorrow night
Mm-hmm.
in San Francisco. They're 18-point favorites. Then you've got 23rd ranked BYU. They play Santa Clara. I don't know why they're playing these schools so late in the year. It's interesting. Colorado, they're sitting there at 18. They play USC tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
14 to Oregon. They travel to Tempe to play Arizona State.
Dude, Oregon men and women are crushing it
They're
this
pretty
year.
good. Yeah, the men right now are sitting there at 20-6. Arizona State, they're sitting there at 17-8
Mm-hmm.
on the year. The Beavers of Oregon State, they're going to travel to Arizona for the Wildcats. Arizona's sitting there ranked 24. And then, as we mentioned, Ohio State travels to Iowa. The game over there in are they in Iowa City?
They are in Iowa City.
Iowa City, yeah.
I think
we're
that game is going to be really interesting because that's going to have a lot of tournament play implications, I think.
Sure.
Especially for this late in the season.
All right, so you want to go over the Friday lineup? This is fantastic.
The Friday lineup looks so good. Go for it.
Sacred Heart versus Merrimack. We got Consensus, who the hell they are, playing Quinnipiac.
Kinesis, I think.
Kinesis.
Yeah.
C-A-N-I-S-I-U-S.
Yeah.
Who cares? Quinnipiac, Q-U-I-N-N-I-P-I-A-C.
Yep.
Never heard of them. Niagara, they're going to play Fairfield. That
Oh,
sounds
boy.
like a barn burner there. Ryder plays Iona. Fantastic. St. Peter's plays Manhattan. And Monmouth, they were actually in the tournament a couple years ago. They made some noise, didn't they?
Yeah, they had a, I don't want to say a deep run, but they made
They made
a
it
few
to like
guys.
round
Yeah.
of 32 or something like that, but they knocked somebody off.
I'm going to look it up right now
Yeah,
while
I
we're
forget
going.
it. Yeah, then we got the Battle of the Nerds here. We're going into Brown and Columbia, Yale and Cornell, Penn and Dartmouth. Ooh, here's a real barn burner here. Princeton and Harvard.
Hey, listen,
That's
that's a
gonna
big
be-
rivalry game now. You be nice.
Absolutely. Green Bay plays Detroit Mercy. Here we're getting some action now. Buffalo goes to Kent State. Mount St. Mary's, they're going to play Robert Morris. Bryant, they play St. Francis Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Central Connecticut State, they travel to Wagner. My cousin went to Wagner, actually. That's
Oh, wow.
That's in Staten Island. And Long Island, they're going to play FDU, whoever the hell they are.
Fairleigh Dickinson University.
They're like the Trojans because their logo is like a chess piece.
They're the Knights.
Nice, that makes sense. The logo's a chess piece. Milwaukee, they're going to travel to Oakland, Michigan.
Huh. Interesting. Up in Detroit, right?
Oakland University, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got VCU plays St. Louis, and of course, those are two teams who have made some noise in the tournament over the past couple of years as well.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday slate. Here we go. Here's some of the teams. Here's what we're looking for. Kansas goes to Baylor on Saturday. That's a noon tip-off there on ESPN.
That's a big one.
Yeah, Kansas is 23-3. Baylor's 24-1 on the year. That'll be a good one. And then we go down here to another game on CBS at noon. Tennessee travels to number 13 ranked Auburn. Marquette, they're going to Providence. Duquesne, they go to Dayton. Dayton's the real deal this year.
Yeah, they are.
If you're a betting man, I'd put your mortgage on Dayton this year.
You heard him, guys. Put your mortgage on Dayton.
Absolutely. West Virginia, they're going to travel to TCU. Houston travels to Memphis. That's actually going to be a good one. Houston's sitting there at 20-6. Memphis sitting there at 17-8 on the year. It's interesting too to think how good Memphis could have been if their stud could have stayed.
Well, I'm looking at some of their losses right now. They've lost their last three. Cincinnati was a big loss. They lost by 6 to Cincinnati. They lost by 3 at UConn. Lost by 2 to USF.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, some of their other losses, they lost to Oregon early in the season by less than 10, and Oregon's playing good basketball right now. They lost to Georgia by 3, and they lost to consistently playing well Wichita State. Like, some of these losses are not as ugly as it may look.
No, not at all. We go past Memphis here. Nova travels to Xavier.
Yeah.
Xavier's always, they're always going to be Xavier, the Musketeers. Florida State, they travel to NC State, North Carolina, unranked North Carolina, sitting there 10-16 on the year.
3-12 in the ACC.
Yeah, that's something that really nobody ever thought they'd see.
They are dead last in the conference.
They are. But, they're also, well, of course, they're not going to make the tournament, but the ACC tournament, they could probably win it for all we know.
They win it, they get the auto bid, which is
true,
nuts to think about.
North Carolina has mentioned they're going to travel to Louisville. UCLA traveling to Colorado. Florida goes to Kentucky. UNLV goes to San Diego State, 26-0 Kansas State, San Diego State. That's at 7:30 on CBS Sports Network on Saturday. Virginia Tech, they're going to travel to Duke. Oregon, Arizona will be a good one also. Oregon's in there at 20-6, Arizona at 18-7 as of now. Of course, those two teams are going to be playing between now and then.
Yep.
And then the late game, 10 o'clock game, Gonzaga at BYU. Gonzaga's in there at 26-1. BYU there at 21-7. We go to the Sunday slate. A couple games here. There's some actually really intriguing ones. Maryland Terrapins, they travel to Columbus to play the Buckeyes. Maryland's sitting there at 22-4. Buckeyes as of now 17-8. Penn State, they're going to travel to IU down to Bloomington. That'll be a good one.
Yep.
Noon on Sunday. Penn State as of now is 20-6. IU sitting there 16-9. St. John's, they're going to travel to Seton Hall. St. John's 14-12. Seton Hall 19-7. And then the 4 o'clock game on Sunday is Butler, 21-ranked Butler. They go to 15th Creighton. Butler sitting there at 19-8, and Creighton sitting there at 21-6. So I think that's gonna be actually a really intriguing game.
Yeah, that one's
4 o'clock on Sunday.
Yeah,
I know I talked to you during via text a couple weeks ago, and I got to take you down to Hinkle Fieldhouse sometime. That's a hell of a place to see a game.
Yeah, I really want to go sometime. It looks like a phenomenal facility. We actually had one of my professors in college went to Butler for his master's degree, and he just says all the basketball games are so electric down there.
They are. Been down to a few. I have a good friend of mine, Eric Day. He is a Butler alum.
Okay.
He, make a long story short, he dealt with cancer and whatnot, and he has this campaign, Stay Positive campaign, and they do a Stay Positive night every year down at a Butler game.
Okay.
And they put on one hell of a show. And they've also got the cutest mascot, Blue the Fourth. I don't know if you've seen Blue Four yet.
Yeah. I think you sent me a picture.
Bulldog.
Yeah.
Yeah, great looking bulldog. And so, I just saw the highlight here on Twitter of the Butler loss. They lost on an inbound pass onto their own basket. He threw it up and laid it in. The game was at Seton Hall too.
Wow.
Watching it. Yeah, he just threw it in. He tipped it in. So
what a play!
Yeah, I just scrolled through that on Twitter here, and so I'm also here looking at the baseball Twitter. Got Fernando Tatis. His swing is gorgeous. Of course, he played here in Fort Wayne for a couple years.
Oh, okay.
Single A. Yeah, he was a big time name here. He went right from Single A right to the majors. So he is that good. But back to college basketball. Tonight not a whole lot going on.
No.
But we kind of did a breakdown there. But also one thing, speaking of college athletics, kind of shifting gears here to football real quick. I sent you this earlier. Charlie Strong joins Nick Saban's Alabama staff as a defensive analyst.
That has scary written all over it.
It does. Charlie Strong, he had at Louisville, he had something going on. I think Texas was a little too big for him. Then I think the expectations were a little too high for him at Texas. Yeah. He goes to South Florida. He does pretty well, actually. He starts off fairly strong, no pun intended. But I think things just kind of fell off. And low-key, I didn't even realize he left South Florida. Yeah. Until I just saw this. But I think he'll be a great defensive analyst, whatever that means, in Alabama. Probably just a stats guy and pencil pusher, numbers guy.
Probably, but they're going to pay him a pretty penny.
He's going to get paid pretty well, yeah. And he's always been a fairly good coach. I mean, he's been around a long time, and he's had success really everywhere he's gone. And so I think he'll be all right there.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think it's a good landing spot for him as well. You mentioned with Texas being a little bit too big for him in terms of expectations. I do think that it's so critical for him and his future success that he gets this opportunity to really learn under Nick Saban, kind of see what he does and how he consistently breeds a positive culture that's competing for a championship every single year. I think it's super critical for him as he takes this coaching stop to move forward and become a head coach again.
Yeah, I think he will be too one day. It's one of those things, too, as we mentioned, kind of the expectations when he was in Texas. I think Texas has too high expectations for their coach.
Agreed.
Coaches in general. Because they have all these expectations for Tom Herman, yet he hasn't really produced a damn thing.
No.
So, and he's losing his recruits, Texas guys, to Ohio State and the Alabamas of the world and whatnot. So, yeah, but it was one of those things where he was a hot coach at Louisville, and he did well there with who would have been his quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah,
and they looked good, and then he was only there for a couple of years, and then the rest is history. But then I also saw Brett Bielema he either has or is interested in the Colorado job.
I did see that.
And so he spent last year as a defensive coach with the New England Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
And then less than a month ago, he signed on to be the linebacker coach for the New York Giants.
Yep.
And now he's interested in the Colorado job. But he's had kind of an interesting run here the past 7-8 years. Obviously, did well at Wisconsin.
Yep.
But I think I was talking to my buddy who's a Wisconsin guy, and I think he had a kind of a falling out with Barry Alvarez.
Yeah,
so
I've heard that.
Which it makes sense, too, if you think about it. But at that point, the SEC was throwing around a lot of money. And so he saw Arkansas, and who saw that money there, took it, had one winning season maybe, if that. And so,
I think
kind of the rest of history. Then he was canned. And then I think he took a year off or so, and then went to New England, and New England then as of now with the New York Football Giants.
Well, I think you look at his coaching history. In his time with college and then the NFL. Last year, he was the defensive lines coach to the Patriots. The year before that, he was a consultant to the head coach.
So he was like the Dwight Schrute of the New England
Patriots. Yeah. But then I'm looking at his stops. Wisconsin, he had a nice little run from 2006 to 2012.
A Rose Bowl win in there.
Yeah, Rose Bowl win. I think 2 Big Ten championships.
Yeah.
And then when he gets to Arkansas, I think that's kind of when the wheels fall off of everything. His third season at Arkansas, they lost to Texas Tech and Toledo in non-conference play. And I remember everybody just kind of freaking out about it. He finished the year 8-5, and it was a rough go for him back in 2016. And I think that kind of turned the tide of everything, and he did his last year, 2017. And I think it was good for him to get away from college. He was very suited for the college game for the time, but I don't think that he's a college head coach. And I say that cautiously because he was very successful at Wisconsin. He just couldn't get it. He couldn't get it done in the SEC. I think maybe.
I think his style of play is Big Ten play.
Yeah, very
it's
ground and pound.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the running backs, he had Monty Ball. He had Melvin. He probably had Melvin Gordon at one point.
Yeah, I think he did.
And there was another guy in there too. I can't think who it was, but I mean, his running backs were always solid.
Mm-hmm.
And they, big offensive linemen, stout running backs is what they were known for. And they did it for a long time. He took that game plan to the SEC where they're more air raid. They're going to throw the football. Their offensive linemen aren't as big. Their defense, or their linebacker, or their running backs rather aren't stout guys. They're more speed guys. They're more down or outside, sideline to sideline as to where they win the Big Ten. They're downhill, ground and pound type of guys.
Exactly.
So I think he realized that wasn't going to work at Arkansas because you recruit SEC talent. They're speedsters, they're burners, and it's not going to work with a ground and pound offense. So I think that he was only there 3 years, something like that.
At Arkansas?
Yeah.
He was there for 5 seasons.
Was it 5 years already?
2013 to 2017.
I guess so. Yeah, because that
3 bowl games.
That's right. He left Wisconsin right before the Rose Bowl, and Barry Alvarez came and coached it. That's
correct.
Right. Because Alvarez has done that twice. He won one and lost one.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
well, I'm looking at it. He won 3 straight Big Ten championships.
Yep.
2010, 11, and 12. The last one, they went 8-5, 4-4 in conference play, but that was the year Ohio State and Penn State were both ineligible for postseason play.
Yep.
And so it went to Wisconsin based off the fact that Ohio State and Penn State couldn't play.
Exactly. They went to a Rose Bowl and they won that, right?
Yeah,
that was Barry Alvarez.
Taking a look now. They lost it to Stanford, 20-14.
Stanford, that's right. They beat TCU.
Yep.
That's what it was.
They beat TCU the year before. Or no,
2 years before.
No, they lost 3 straight Rose Bowls.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure they got 1 win in there.
They lost to TCU 21-19 in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
2012, they lost 45-38 to Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2012, was Barry Alvarez, 20-14.
I swore they had one there.
He won the Champs Sport Bowl
mm-hmm.
in 2009, and then 2006 they won the Capital One Bowl.
Oh.
And that was against
Capital One Bowl, where every Big Ten team goes to play.
Right. That was against Arkansas, and they beat them 17-14.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, college football wise, a lot of guys just kind of in the recruiting process right now. Recruiting trails, training, workouts have started.
Yep.
Not a whole lot of breaking news really anywhere in the college game.
Nothing that I've seen. Yeah.
I see that the NCAA is toying with the idea of the transfer rule, kind of making more first-year guys eligible right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're transferred again, which I don't know why you would, you have to sit out a year. But that's really opening up so many gates.
It really does.
Because like that Miami, I think there's a Miami quarterback who was only there for a year, and now he's transferring out again because the King kid from Houston's going to Miami now.
That's right. Yeah.
So we have him coming in, that other quarterback leaving. Tate Martell is still there,
mm-hmm.
and so I don't. It's gonna open up a free agency market. What's gonna happen? I mean, it already is.
Yeah, I mean, college football is nothing but
that.
a NFL D-League free agency market.
Absolutely, it's all it's become anymore. And now I'm interested too. Bobby Carpenter brought this up on ESPN's Get Up the other day with the XFL about taking guys sophomore year.
That would be interesting.
Not a bad idea if you think about it, because I can't remember the name of the kid he brought up, but he plays for LSU. He was like a sophomore. He'll be a sophomore this year. He's a starting freshman last year.
Okay.
But all of his talent's gone. They're all graduated. They're going to the NFL.
Yeah.
So there's this kid there with a ton of talent. But he might be playing on a really bad team, which is going to bring him down. So why not go to the XFL, make 50, 60 grand a year, or for a year or two, and then go right to the NFL.
But isn't that an NCAA rule where they can't play right away, or they can't go until after their third year?
I think that's like between the Players Association, the NFLPA, and college and the NCAA.
Okay.
I think that's what that is. But I mean, the XFL, why not? Go there, play, make some money. I mean, it's no different than guys coming out of high school, going overseas and playing for a year, then coming in drafted.
Right.
So, which I think you'll see a lot more of in college basketball as the years go on. But it could be something similar to what the XFL wants to do, because the XFL quality of football is not bad.
No, it really isn't. And we kind of talked about this the other day. It's so much different from the NFL that I think it's good.
Absolutely. The NFL is going to adopt some of these rules, I think, too. It's some of the things they do. Because, I mean, when you look at the original XFL, they adopted the Sky Camera for them. They adopted a lot of the media presence, what they do, how they do things from the XFL. And in this instance, I think they're going to adopt next year or so the kickoff. I love the kickoff.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of that because it guarantees a kickoff every time.
Yeah,
and then I like the camera in the booth with the review official. I really like that. And it's kind of funny too watching him review plays because he's just literally sitting in front of a TV with an Xbox controller, re-forwarding and rewinding and going back and forth. It's really funny to watch, but it's cool to be able to have those microphones and hearing them. And I was watching the DC Defenders last week, and it was a Big Ten officiating crew.
Okay.
So a lot of these guys are going to be officiating year-round now. These guys do. I've seen them at Ohio State. I've seen them do these big-time games in the Big Ten, and now they're doing the XFL,
right,
which is a different style of play. But I don't think the play has been bad, actually. The quarterback play has been decent. Might as well give Cardell Jones a gold jacket right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
What's his face? Matt McGloin got benched already.
I saw that. I was dying.
I was listening to that too. His right before he went into halftime, telling them he need to change the entire game plan. He wasn't a part of the game plan in the second half.
No, he wasn't.
Aaron Murray, he got benched already after week 1 for the Tampa Bay Vipers. That Flowers kid from South Florida is their starting quarterback now. And then it was kind of fun watching a little more of it this week. Keenan Reynolds, who was a former quarterback at Navy, he's a wide receiver. He had a touchdown this past week. So, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of good names out there playing this game, and I think it's actually really interesting. They've done a great job of it so far, marketing-wise.
Agreed.
I saw a funny tweet the other day saying the Defenders are more popular in D.C. than the Redskins are, which might be true.
I mean, they have a better record, don't they?
Right. I was talking to my buddy Trey, who's a huge Redskins fan. We were talking about it. Of course, the Redskins play in Landover, and and Defenders play right in D.C. So he's like, it's just more convenient for fans to go. And it's better football than what the Redskins put on the field right now.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. The Redskins are an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah, not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, no, it's the XFL is bringing a lot of cool things to it. It is cool seeing a lot of these stars that we enjoyed watching in college. You know, like Cardale Jones. Did you see his play where it looks like he was going down. He like fumbled the ball, picks it up, and then throws a first down pass.
Yeah, I did see that.
I thought that was fantastic.
And
it's
one
just
thing I
dumb.
think is really cool too is obviously they show the gambling on the screen, over under, spreads, things like that, and the commentators talk about it. I think they actually really do enjoy that because I don't think they have like a set manual or set script they have to go by. I like to do with the NFL because it's what the NFL wants.
Right.
I think Vince McMahon is like, just talk about whatever you want. And so, the guys who are doing these games, Brock Hewitt of the world, Joey Galloway on ESPN, the guys are actually a lot of fun, and I think they're actually really enjoying it too.
Yeah.
And I also love how too on Monday mornings they're getting recognition on Get Up and First Take and on Cowherd and Shannon Sharp and Skip.
Right.
That is.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Is it not PTI?
No, that's ESPN. That's
right.
That's Kornheiser and Wilbon. Something yourself, isn't it?
I'm gonna look it up now.
Speak yourself. I forget. That tells you how much I watch Fox. I don't.
Right.
Not him.
It
Truth?
is not Skip and Shannon.
Yeah. No, it's the name of the show.
Well, there's one on Fox called Undisputed.
Undisputed, that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
That's it.
Skip and Shannon, Undisputed.
Yep, that's it. Yep. Speaker Truth is Ball State guy. Oh god, I'm so bad with names right now.
No, you're good.
Oh, Ball State tonight, they beat Northern Illinois.
Yes, they did. I was going to bring that up as well.
I just saw that. Yeah. Whitlock, Jason Whitlock.
That's right. Okay.
So, I don't know if I sent you the text the other day, but last Saturday, Whitlock and Papa John were sitting next to each other at a Ball State basketball game.
You did. You sent that to me, and we talked about how cool it would be to have him on the show.
What a phenomenal duo that is.
Yeah.
The year before I graduated, Papa John was the keynote speaker at graduation.
Oh, wow.
Or the year before I graduated, in 2015 he did, and that was a lot of fun. But of course, he has nothing to do now. He's not on the board or anything like that, so I might as well just go watch well, that was when we played BG, actually. We lost by like 4 or something like that. Where were we again?
Well, we were talking about the XFL, and then we spaghetti noodled into Shannon Sharp. And
Yeah. So I think it's cool, too, the XFL, too, to also be on ABC, ESPN, and Fox.
Yeah, it's really neat that they're getting all those outlets to broadcast those games, and they're easily accessible, too. Like, even if you don't have, like, subscription to some of those, you can find them online pretty quickly.
Sure. And I think, too, I saw a stat, I don't know how true it is or not, but in the first week of the XFL, they outsold the AAF in ticket sales.
I did see that, and I believe it. I was just looking at the stands for last week's games. They were pretty full, even for some of these cold areas like DC and stuff. Pretty full
awesome
stands.
Beer cup snake, though.
That was wild. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was impressive. I was proud of that.
I just saw this, and this was something I actually meant to text you the other day. Mount Union hired a new head football coach.
Did they?
His name is Jeff Dart.
Jeff Dart, okay.
It's his first season as a head football coach at Mount Union, but he spent the last 7 years as an assistant, and then 5 of those years as the offensive coordinator.
Where at?
At Mount Union. This was all.
Mount Union. I don't know if he came from Toledo or what.
No, right? Yeah, that pipeline.
And I think too. Speaking of like those schools like Mount Union, I think those guys can play in the XFL also.
Oh,
this gives
easily.
Those guys an opportunity.
Well, I mean, they're just the D1 rejects essentially.
Sure, them, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, all those guys.
Well, the Ohio Athletic is so stacked top to bottom, just consistently.
I haven't paid attention much to Ohio Dominican, how they've been. I was recruited there to play there.
Oh, seriously? Okay.
They'd only had like 2 or 3 years under their belt at that time.
Yeah, they're still pretty young.
Yeah, and they've been around 10 years or so now, 10, 11 years.
That's still for college football. That's pretty young.
College football, yeah. They've got a really nice stadium though.
Yeah,
it's really cool facilities. I did a visit.
They've spent a lot of money there.
Yeah, I did a visit there, and it's not the greatest area of Columbus.
Okay.
Southwest or southeast over by the airport, right off 65, I think it is, or whatever highway is down that way.
Okay.
Kind of over by going towards Genoa, or not Genoa, Gahanna.
Yeah.
Like over that area.
No, I know where it's at. It's a great school.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of history there for academics and not much for the sports that I've seen, but it's a great program, and there's a lot of cool things down there.
Yeah.
And it's close to Columbus too, so.
Sure. And so, I think those guys can have an opportunity to play at that level.
But yeah, absolutely no. I mean, those Mount Union guys would be perfect for the next level of the NFL, or the XFL rather. It's a good opportunity for them to try to grow and then show off some of that potential NFL talent on a better stage than Division III college football.
Yeah.
I did want to point out,
even for me, Wabash.
Yeah.
Those guys, too. Guys who I know, a lot of guys who played there.
Well, remember when we were looking at the rosters a couple weeks ago, there were some Division II guys that we had never heard of. Yeah. Now they're getting these chances to start at a professional level.
Absolutely.
I fully imagine that some NFL scouts will be like, hey, we want to try you out at camp or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I want to point out something with Jeff Dart here at Mount Union real quick. I'm reading his bio, right? And I'm kind of cracking up. So he's from Port Clinton, Ohio.
Okay, cool.
Was a 3-year letter winner as an offensive lineman at Mount Union. This guy does not look like any... I mean, it's D3, so they don't look like offensive linemen. But he looks like, at best, he was a slot receiver. Yeah. Just size-wise. But he played for 3 national championship teams, and he was an all-conference selection in 2007.
Where did you go to high school?
It just says Port Clinton. It doesn't tell me what high school.
It's probably a Sandusky guy.
Probably.
Probably a Blue Streak or a Perkins.
Yeah, I would imagine probably Blue Streaks. I feel like they are a little bit more known for their football.
Yeah, or only Orlando pays, no big
deal.
Sure.
But yeah, so I'm just looking at all this. You assistant coach at Wheaton College in Illinois. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think it's so crazy that he just continues to follow that track of Mount Union coaches. All right, you played here, you fit. Mount Union reminds me of Jerry Jones, or of the Dallas Cowboys of D3 football. They just keep bringing them from within. All right, cool. Next up. And they're successful with it. They do really, really well with it. So I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to share that. They did hire a new football coach since Toledo took their last head football coach. Mm-hmm. And is now playing some defensive coordinator at, coaching as the defensive coordinator.
Right here's his Twitter account. Right here's his email address. Reach out to him.
You know what? Let's do it.
Right here's his phone number too.
I won't call him.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, why not? Shoot him I'll shoot him a email. Say, hey, we'd love to have you on the podcast. I'm sure he'd love to get that out there.
I'm kind of curious what high school he went to. Here's his Western Kentucky profile. I don't think he's cool enough to have a Wikipedia yet.
Probably not. Let me take a look. We'll find out. Nope, no Wikipedia yet.
No.
Soon.
Yeah, right here. Hometown Port Clinton, Ohio, Mount Union, 2008. Yeah.
We'll go follow him on Twitter. Why not? See what happens.
Sure.
But
no, that would be cool. I'm excited to see what they do because they're always a team that's, Stag Bowl is, it's them, or Wisconsin Whitewater. Somebody completely different this year. But, it'd be cool to see what they can do. And it's kind of interesting, too, because it's such a family lineage of head coaches at Mount Union for the past 40, 50 years.
Yeah, the Kurz family.
Kurz, yeah. So, it'd be interesting to see, but I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a good opportunity. I like Mount Union. As a former Ohio Northern guy, I shouldn't, but I've always appreciated what they've done to boost Division III college football.
Mm-hmm. Because when you say Mount Union, everybody knows who they are.
Yeah. It's not like I can go to California and people are like, what's a Mount Union? Like, people know, if you follow sports at all, know who Mount Union is.
Absolutely. So,
I did want to kind of touch on Michigan State really quick.
Yeah.
Their coaching search for the football team.
That was a wild one.
That was stupid.
Yeah.
Did they ended up settling on who was it?
Guy from Colorado.
The Mel Tucker, yeah.
Mel Tucker, yeah.
It's not the sexy hire that people want, but right now I don't think Michigan State needs that. They just need consistency.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny their website still says Mark D'Antonio.
Yeah.
That's funny. But yeah, it wasn't the sexy hire they were hoping, but with everything just swirling around that athletic department, there's no way that it was going to be anything better than the scraps,
Yeah. It's, and Mel Tucker played at Michigan State, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, obviously it's a homecoming for him, so it's kind of a big deal. But, some other people I thought about too were Robert Saleh, San Francisco. He's, of course, their defensive coordinator. He's from the Detroit area, or from Lansing.
Okay.
Or somewhere in that area. He didn't play. He didn't go to Michigan State, but he grew up in that area. He said no.
Okay.
And there's a few people who said no.
Gotcha.
So, it's going to be interesting to see if Luke Fickell said no, which I think that kind of surprised them too.
Yeah, that was a big shock, mostly because Luke Fickell has Big Ten experience, and he wouldn't have been a bad Big Ten coach, honestly.
No, not at all. He has recruiting ties there already. But I think he's like where he's at Cincinnati, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, no, he's got a really good job, good paycheck, and
because
they're making noise.
Exactly, because Cincinnati, they're not going to have the highest expectations,
Exactly.
Win your conference and just do your thing. Whereas Michigan State, it's compete for playoff spots every year.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, I think like I said, not the big hire they wanted, but definitely a good hire for that program.
Yeah. Absolutely. What else you got for us, man? I'm all tapped out.
I think I'm all tapped out. I am looking at Michigan State in the Big Ten for basketball really quick since I'm talking about them. In the last 10 games, they are 4-6. Ever since Purdue put a shellacking on them, 71-42, they've spiraled out of control, losing to Indiana. Big win over Minnesota and Northwestern, but those aren't that great. Lost to Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan, all back-to-back. Got a 1-point win over Illinois, and then got shellacked by Maryland. They looked like the cream of the crop for the longest time in the conference, and then they've just spiraled completely out of control.
Yeah, speaking out of control, NC State's up on Duke right now, 10-1. So
I see that. Yeah,
it's a real barn burner there.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Cincinnati's in overtime right now with UCF, 67-73.
Oh wow.
Texas A&M is beating Alabama 72-68. Texas is up on TCU 48-44. Miami, Virginia Tech are just getting started here. Miami's up 9-2. Houston's up on Tulsa 7-5.
Make that 7-7. It's tied. Tulsa just scored.
They just updated. Yep. And then Kansas State is losing to Texas Tech 7-1 right now. So obviously all those games are still early here, but looks like Texas A&M Alabama game is about to wind down. But Cincinnati UCF are tied. Never mind. That just updated again.
Not anymore.
No, UCF is up 78-76 with just under a minute to go in that ball game. So that'll be a good one to watch here.
Looks like Texas A&M ends up getting the win over Alabama. That's a big win for them. Wow, so much good basketball right now. There
is. So, partner, I'm all tapped out.
Cool, man. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for us this week.
Yep.
So, guys, thanks for so much for tuning in. We definitely appreciate it. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, this will probably be the last time I plug it. It was a really, really good episode. You guys definitely need to give it a listen. Some great stories from Ricky Stokes. We're excited to meet up with him in Cleveland. We're actually, I'm going to announce this now since I talked to you about it earlier. We're going to be doing our joint podcast with the Beard Brothers here the night before we go to Cleveland. So we'll be doing that. I think they kind of want to talk some first-round draft, some rookie draft, things like that. So we'll have a good back and forth with that with them. They had a great episode last night. We did an all-time fantasy draft last night on their show. So if you guys get the chance, check it out. Beard Brothers FF on Twitter. They post their episodes, new content all the time. If you get the chance, check out Across the Board Sports or atbsports.net. That's our parent company, if you will. And we are getting back into the writing season. I just posted a big article on the Patriots and what they should be doing in the off season. So make sure you guys check that out. Check out all of the other podcasts. I think that the Cavs podcast just posted a new one. So make sure you guys check all those out. We definitely appreciate your support. Please spread the word about it. It's going to be, we've got a lot of good things planned in the pipeline, and we want to be able to share it with as many people as possible. So
Absolutely.
please share it.
With Mr. Stokes last week, they all came together in a week.
Yeah.
So we obviously didn't get a ton of time to get. Well, I mean, you had to scramble for questions.
Yeah.
And one thing we talked about off the air is, because I've done radio for a while now, interviewing coaches and whatnot. And one thing I think you learned is don't write too many questions down because you don't get stories like Tim Duncan.
No, absolutely not. And that's and AJ was absolutely phenomenal, guys, on taking the lead on that. That was so much fun. I'm glad that we were able to make that work. Hopefully, the next guest will have a little bit more time. But
but I think it's one of those things too where I'm sure not a ton of people know, except the feedback that you and I have gotten on the podcast is the Tim Duncan story.
Yeah.
Even my parents, they listened to it. They thought that was really cool because obviously they're big sports people, but didn't know that story.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people do. And it's funny too. The past few days, things have come up. I go, son of a bitch, I should have asked him that question.
Right? Yeah. Well, that's what we were talking about.
I have so many things now.
It's
I have so many things I want to ask him now.
Well, hopefully we'll get a chance to do a quick little Q&A with him, maybe 5 minutes or so when we're in Cleveland. We could probably ask him a few more of those questions. Thank him again.
Or we can have him on after basketball season.
That would be a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really, really good time.
Sure.
But, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it.
And I promise if we do have him on, we'll let you people know so you can ask questions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to get the audience participating and get some feedback from you guys as well. So, AJ?
Also, remember to rate and like us on Instagram, on iTunes.
Yes.
Again, with not a made-up name, please.
Yeah, please just use your real names, guys.
If you're gonna make one up and make it look real.
Real.
But that'd be
or
nice.
Even if you want to use a nickname, make it nothing stupid, please.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're gonna get called out for that at some point, but come on, guys, be a little bit
all
better.
Adults here. Come on.
So cool, AJ.
That's it for me, man.
All right, guys. We will see you guys next week.
Hey.